Good morning.
Good morning.
What does P and W and 161? What does all that mean?
That means the songs you're going to sing.
I'm not leading.
You just got to sing.
I will sing if he comes up here and sings with me. That's what I thought. We're okay, aren't we? Yeah. Well, it's good to be with you this morning. If you have your copy of God's Word, turn to Matthew's Gospel, chapter 11. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 11 this morning. I do always appreciate the opportunity to come and be with you, and especially to share the Gospel with you in the absence of your pastor and in the absence of the backup to the pastor. But that's okay. I always try to be ready to fill the pulpit always. Well, you know, Vacation Bible School is over with. Don't play up. Don't. It was good, wasn't it? It was good. And you know, 11 more months, and you'll be doing it again. So we're always excited about Vacation Bible School and what lives that are changed, children's lives introduced to Jesus Christ, and trained and taught, and shared, and discipled during those moments of Vacation Bible School. So good results, good reports have been coming in from churches through their Vacation Bible School, and so we're grateful for that. We did our summer mission project, went to Bowling Green, Kentucky again this year, and worked on the same facility that they worked on last year. And so that was a good trip back in June. I'm glad it was in June instead of July, with the weather as hot as it got. And so, you know, and we're moving on, and next thing, so tomorrow night is clerk conference. I believe 6 or 6:30 for the new clerks, and then 7 for the senior clerks. And then September, tomorrow, first day of August, can you believe it? And then September executive meeting, and then October is the annual meeting. So you'll be electing your messengers to the annual meeting in a few days, few weeks, and it will be at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Mount Zion, love going there. They have nice facilities. Always love being there for the annual meeting. Good. And just maybe 14 or less days, we'll have our 4th grandchild, and this one will be our first grandson. He doesn't have a chance. But we're excited, so pray for them. And so, if you have found Matthew chapter 11, say amen.
Amen.
If you're able to stand, would you stand, please? In verse 28, recorded the saying of Jesus. He says to the crowd, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Weary and burdened, so words that the Holman translation says. You that are weary and burdened, come, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Father, thank you for the privilege to be here today. Thank you for your presence, for the presence of the Holy Spirit, for the songs that we have communed together through our voices and to lift up praises unto your name. Father, we pray that you would continue to bless this service, speak to our hearts. Father, that this moment would not be void, that it would not be in vain. Father, be with the pastor's wife as they are absent, Father, watch over and protect them. Father, again, we thank you in Jesus' name for all that he did and is still doing. Amen. You may be seated. Good news. Good news in a hostile world. There's no doubt about it. If we surveyed and we asked and we talked, and if we were sitting at the barber shop or somewhere, or at Jack's, and everything that we would, a lot of the things we would talk about would be bad news. Political, global, health issues. We'd be overwhelmed with bad news. And even in our own personal family, we would be overcome with bad news. And sometimes it's hard for us even really to probe and to dig out good news. Well, some real good news, because such bad news that really just dampens any good news. But there are good news. There's good news in this world. There's good news in the church. There's good news in our family. There's good news in our individual life. Because as believers, and as a church of believers, and as a larger group, the bride of Christ, we have good news. But sometimes we forget about it, do we not? Sometimes we forget who Jesus, what he has done for us, and who he is. And sometimes we get so depressed because of the dark cloud that overshadows us that we forget. Sometimes even coming to church is a real troublesome experience. You don't have to nod your head, but we know. Just getting up and getting to church and going to church sometimes can be very, just not really the things we want to do. And sometimes people don't do that, so they decide to stay home, go somewhere else, do this, do that, because they just don't feel energetic to go to church and everything. And sometimes religion itself dictates upon our lives things that cause us to be not real happy, not real positive. Well, in the days of Jesus, in the days of his disciples, in the days of his followers, it was much like that. The political news was sad, it was bad. Rome was overpowering Jerusalem, and the Israelites were under the Roman power, and the Roman government was not very friendly to them. They set up in order these governors and kings to rule over the people, God's people, and they made it very hard for them. And so in the days of Jesus, the political scene was very horrible. The moral scene was very horrible. We know the story, the history of Rome, and we know that even in Israel, that sin was prevalent. It's always been prevalent. And so when they read the Jerusalem news that every day, it was always discouraging. And then when it came to the religion of Jesus' day and the religion of the disciples and of the Jews, it was so oppressive to them that they were so many do-nots that they couldn't enjoy the do's. And so when Jesus spoke these words here in these 3 verses, he was speaking to a hostile world, to a group of people that was very discouraged, depressed, and had no hope for tomorrow. They dreamed about the day that the Messiah would come. Little did they know that they were listening to the Messiah. They dreamed about a day when Jerusalem and Israelite would rise up and be the people that God said they would be, and they would rule over Rome, and they would rule over the other nation. And so in this hostile world, there was this hopelessness, there was this mindset that paralyzed their joy. It robbed them of their joy. And if you can relate to that, just think about it in your head and mind that how much your joy is robbed because of the hostility that's in the world today. I was at this new place in Coleman one day this week, first this week, to eat lunch. Panera, at least the name of it. And I was sitting there, and I was having to sit at this bar. It's not a wet bar now. It's just a bar stool. Okay, just go there if you doubt me. Okay, no. So I'm sitting at this bar, and it's facing the entrance, which really didn't like that. But I'm sitting there because I had no place to sit except on the floor. And so to my right, two stools over, was a guy, and he had a laptop, and I noticed on the floor was a backpack. And so he was, I don't know what he was doing, maybe just using the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. That happens in a lot of places. And so he was sitting there, and I was trying to eat and everything. And so all of a sudden he got up. He left his laptop and left the backpack. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to get a refill. But then I realized he didn't have a fill the first time, so he wasn't going to get a refill. And so I thought, well, maybe he's going to get something to eat now. He's used the Wi-Fi, and now he's ready to eat. Well, after about 5 minutes, he doesn't come back. And I look around, and I don't see him. There's his backpack, and there's his laptop. You know what's going through my mind? Bang, bang. Brenda is a widow. No, really. I mean, we live in such a hostile world that we are sensitive to a change in our environment that is no longer normal. Okay? That's not normal anymore. I promise you, you would not go in an airport by yourself and walk off and leave a piece of luggage or a backpack sitting somewhere and no one's supervising. You wouldn't do that but once. And so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, Brother Allen, I'm getting a little frenzied. I'm getting a little antsy, because he hasn't returned. And so I leave everything I got. I go over, I find an employee. And I said, listen, now I'm not trying to be oversensitive, but there was a guy sitting here, there's a backpack still there, there's a laptop there, and nobody's there. And I said, in this culture that we're living in, I said, that's not good. And I said, maybe an employee, it could be someone that, because it's a new place, could be just coming in, supervisor, monitoring it. So sure enough, he goes, and he said, well, I think it's one of our employees, supervisor. He goes, he finds it, he comes back, the supervisor says to me, he apologized. He picks it up, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I realized that I should not have done that. But you understand, we're living in a hostile world, and we have problems finding joy, okay? I don't even want to get on the interstate anymore. I mean, the number of accidents. But life goes on. And the world, and now in the world we're living in, the culture that we're living in, the religion, who can we really trust? I mean, we hear about so-and-so, we hear about such and such great pastor, we hear about people being arrested, this and that, and there's so much religion today. I mean, you can just join whatever group you want to join. Well, now listen, let me say this. This is just my introduction. I'll get to the sermon in a minute. Listen, not everything that comes down the pipe is biblical, okay? Not everything. Believe me, don't trust me, trust the Word. Not everything. We're all not going to heaven, okay? And not everything that's preached and said from a pulpit is the truth, okay? And so there's a lot of good stuff that is said that helps you mentally, that may help you, sociologically, but it doesn't help you spiritually. For Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. You see, any other way, trying to get around that, will not get one into heaven. Okay? I'm not just old-fashioned. I'm not just an old fogey. That's the biblical truth. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And so when these people are sitting here hearing Jesus talk, and they're crippled by their religion because it says, do not, do not, do not, do not. You remember the young rich ruler came to Jesus and asked Jesus, what must I do to have eternal life? Jesus said, well, keep the commandments. He said, from my youth up, from my childhood, I have kept the commandments. I've not stolen, I've not robbed, I've not coveted, I've not, the do not list. Now we may be able to say the do not list, We may be able to check it off. But when Jesus said to him, go and sell all that you have, the do list, go and sell all that you have and come and follow me, the do list, he walked away. You see. All right. So the picture is that here's a group of people who were very religious, but they were very unhappy because the religious leaders had put a yoke upon them that was burdensome. Good news in a hostile world. One, notice, three thoughts of action. Verse 28. Jesus says, come unto me. Come unto me. You know, those are comforting words, are they not? Have you ever said to your children, grandchildren, when they got a little boo-boo and said, come to me? Come to me. Papa will kiss it. You know, there's nothing good about your kiss. But to that child, you're going to try to make that child feel better. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me. We'll put a Band-Aid on that little boo-boo. Here is a group of people. Jesus is saying the greatest invitation is, come to me. Don't go to the Pharisees. Don't go to Sadducees. Don't go to the old temple. Come to me. For I am living water. I am the fountain that will give you everlasting life. Come to me. Listen, he says, all of you that are weary and burdened, all of you that are tired, all of you, listen, I think that includes all of us, doesn't it? The word all means all. All. He says, come to me, you who are heavy laden. Listen, if religion has burdened you down, come to me and I will liberate you. If works has trodden you down because you're trying to get to heaven by works, Jesus said, come to me, for my grace is free. Through my death, through my resurrection, I will give you the power of resurrection. Come to me. Oh, listen, all that are heavy laden. Oh, my friends, listen, this world is full of people right here in Coleman County. People who are just burdened down and are restricted from enjoying the goodness. I remember growing up, my mother was a great mother. She was a praying mother. She was a godly mother. But we didn't totally agree on everything. And I'll never forget, Sunday afternoons. Now, I think Sunday is a day of worship. It is a day of worship. But I don't think we're not bound. You understand? Sometimes we bind ourselves. If going to church becomes a thing that I must do, then you have bound yourself by going to church. Going to church is a freedom, it's a liberty, it's a desire to worship God. It is not a have to. Listen, if you're afraid, okay, let me talk about the other church. You're not this way. Let me talk about the other church. There's another church. If they're so afraid about going to church that they're afraid that their deacon's going to call and say, hey, where were you yesterday? Listen, we should not be that confined. We should not be that controlling. Listen, going to church, I would rather have 5 people that came to church to worship God than to have 500 who were there, sitting there with living faces on their shoulder. Wouldn't you? I mean, hey, listen, I don't want to go hear a preacher preach that looks like he just had sour grapes and lemon for breakfast. Do you know, I want to see someone happy, someone who knows Jesus, someone who talks about Jesus, someone who's in love with Jesus. Amen. And here Jesus says, come to me. Come to me. Oh, the good part is, you who are just worn out. If you can just see the sociological culture of that day, they were poor, impoverished people, and there was 2 classes of people: the haves and then the have-nots. And Jesus was speaking to the have-nots. Come to me. Come. Get up from your bedside. Get up from your grieving corner. Get up. Come to me. All of you, come, come. You are tired, burdened. Oh, friends, listen, Jesus is saying to us today, the invitation to the world is come. Hey, listen, come. What's burdened you down today? Is it the absence, the loss of a job? Is it the loss of a mate? Is it the burden of the medical news? Listen, is it family issues, marriage issues? Is it sin issues? Whatever it is, Jesus says, come to me, come. I will kiss your boo. I will forgive you of your mistake. Come to me, come. Listen, I'm so glad that Jesus did not say, now you can't bring that to me. Now we try to do that, but not Jesus. Jesus says, no, he doesn't say, now don't bring that to me. I'm not interested in that part of your life. No, he doesn't say that. He says, bring your medical records to me. Bring them to me. Bring all the junk in your life. Bring it to me. Bring it to me. I don't want your junk. I don't. But he does. He wants your junk. He wants the things you don't want to talk about. He wants the things that you don't want to speak about. He wants you to bring those things to him. Come.
Amen.
Come. Well, secondly, not only do we see the action of coming, but between verse 28 and 29, it's not written, but it's implied. In verse 29, he says, take up. In verse 28, he says, come. Well, now, somewhere between 28 and 29, there is implied that you must release something. You must turn over something. Because if you're going to bring something to him and then take up something else, that means you've got to leave your stuff with him. You with me? Jesus says, come to me, and I will give you rest. Take up my yoke. Friends, listen. The next step is once we come to Jesus, he wants us to leave our stuff. He wants us to leave our medical records. He wants us to leave our sinful ways. He wants us to leave those things that are holding us down, that's burdening us. He wants us to leave them with him. Dump them. Some people say, I just can't believe in Jesus, not until I get this out of my life. Listen, friends, I got good news for you. What Jesus is saying, come to me, and I will help you get rid of that issue in your life. Come to me. You see, you're not strong enough, you're not big enough, you're not powerful enough to get rid of that in your life. And if you could, you never would, and therefore you will never be able to reach a point where you would be acceptable to Jesus, because all have sinned, there is none righteous. And so Jesus said, just come to me like you are. Come to me with your dirty clothes. Come to me with your dirty garbage. Come to me, and when you come, leave it. Leave it. That's good news. That I can leave my stuff with Jesus.
Amen.
And friends, today, I don't know what your stuff is, but I assure you that Jesus is concerned about everything about your life. Everything. And he says, come to me. So we come. And then secondly, we release. We have to let it go. Friends, if you can't hang on to it. Well, I would like to keep doing this and to be faithful to Jesus, but to be faithful to Jesus, I got to still hang on to this. No, that's not how it works. Jesus says in Matthew's Gospel, no man can serve two mammon. He can't serve the world, money. He's going to love one and hate the other. Friends, listen. Jesus says the requirement of discipleship is to take up your cross Deny yourself and follow Him. So when we come to Jesus, we have to release it. And then He says, take up. What does He say to take up? Take up my yoke. My yoke. Now you understand the agricultural application here, the yoke. The custom was that when they would yoke up two oxen, they would have an old one, mature, just, he knows, man, at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going to hook him up. He knows he's going to be out in the field all day long. And he knows that when the evening comes, they're going to put him up, they're going to feed him, water him, and then the next morning they're going to get up and do it again. He knows that when they put that yoke on him, it's time for business. No horseplay, no funning around. Well then, on the other end of that yoke, they'll get this young ox. Now all he's got in mind is going to Dairy Queen and just kicking around, playing a little soccer out in the field and just hooping and hollering and having a good time and then laying down in the shade. That young ox. That's what he's thinking. Well, they take that old ox, that young ox, and they put him in that yoke. Old ox, he knows what he's up against. Young ox, he has no idea what he's up against. And as the day wears on, that young ox that has kicked, bucked, and done everything else, that old ox is just dragging him around. He just kept saying to me, just stop it. Stop resisting. Because I'm winning this case. Friends, when we come to Jesus, stop resisting. Amen. Okay? Stop resisting because He's going to win. His way is His way. And so the young ox, over time, one day he becomes the old ox. You get it? So Jesus says to us, He says, come, release, and take up. Take up what? Take up what? He says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. Learn of me. Brother Everett, when I was a young Christian, I used to really kick against Christ. I used to bug. I used to, it's the one who had killed me. He got close. But the Bible says to them that He loves, He whips. He chases. And so Jesus says, come to me. Learn of me. Learn of me. Learn His ways. Because that's what we're to do. We're to learn the ways of Christ. Humility, long-suffering, love, forgiveness. Those ways of Christ. We're to learn. He said, come and take my yoke. But now, listen what He says. Also, for I am meek and lowly in heart. Not like the Roman nation. Not like the Pharisees who had yoked them so heavily with the burden of their laws. No, not like Jesus. Not like Jesus. Yeah, let me summarize it real quick. When Jesus says, come and learn of me, let me tell you how Jesus simplified the burden that the Pharisees had put upon the people. When they had taken the 10 Commandments and compounded it 400 and something times. Jesus summarized the law of God like this. First, love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. Second to this great commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. Friends, you talk about liberation. He took 460 man-made laws and turned them into 2 rules. Love God and love your neighbor. Wow. Is that not simple? Is that not refreshing? Is that not liberated? Jesus says, come to me. Come, and I will give you rest. Come, all of you that are heavy laden, burdened, come, and I will give you rest. Now let me close with this. Rest. What is this rest? What does this rest mean? He says in verse 28, come and I will give you rest. And then in verse 30, listen to what he says in verse 30. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And in verse 29, and you shall find rest. Verse 28, he says, I will give you rest. Verse 29 says, you shall find rest. Let me tell you something real quick. This rest is not rest that is motionless. This is not the kind of rest he's talking about. This rest is not motionless. You know, you've heard, for example, the car that he was driving came to rest. And we think, what we say is, the car stopped. It was knocked out of gear, but it came to rest. It stopped. Okay? This is not the kind of rest that Jesus is talking about when you come to Him. It is not where you just sit and stop and you're under a shade tree. No. He said, you will learn of my rest. This rest is rest in motion. For example, it is the type of rest that is at its best when it is in a relationship with Jesus Christ. Here's the illustration. Now, some of you have these things, watches or other things, Garmin devices or Apple, and it monitors your heartbeat, and so you get your heart rate. And so you learn your best heart rate. And we call that your heart rate at rest. Now that doesn't mean that your heart's not beating. If it was, you wouldn't be here. You understand that? So it means that your heart is beating at a rate where it is called at rest. Not a rest, because that's a flat line. But your heart is at rest. That means it is doing what it ought to be doing, but it is doing it with the least amount of strain. Okay? And so Jesus said, you will learn of me, and I will give you rest, and you will learn this rest. You see, that rest is a rest in motion. And the rest that we have with Jesus Christ is one that He is leading us, and we are walking with Him, and He is supplying our every need. All we have to do is, the minimum is to believe in Him and obey Him. Amen. That is when our heart is at rest. Amen. What about you today? Are you burdened down by this and that? But Jesus says, come to me. Bring everything. Bring all your stuff. Come to me. Come to me. Ye who are heavy laden, burdened, come to me this morning. People that are grieving today, Jesus says, come to me. Would you come today? As we stand to pray, to have a hymn of invitation, we invite you to come. Jesus invites you to come. Would you come today? Father, as we bow our heads and close our eyes, as we're about to sing a hymn of invitation, Lord, God, there may be those here whose heart is not at rest. I pray, Father, they would be liberated today, that they would let go and know the good news in this hostile world that we're living in. Father, I pray in your Son's name. Amen.